David stopped praying the day his daughter died. For years, he had believed God answered prayers. But after the funeral, he looked up at the sky and said, "If you're real, why didn't you save her?" He packed away his Bible, stopped going to church, and walked away from his faith. What happened 3 years later would change everything, and it started with a stranger's note. David had always been a man of faith. Every Sunday, he sat in the same church pew with his wife and daughter, Lily. Lily was only 9 years old. She loved drawing angels and writing little notes about how much God loved people. She filled their home with laughter. Then, one terrible afternoon, everything changed. A sudden accident took Lily's life. In a single moment, David's world collapsed. The pain was unbearable. Friends told him God had a plan. Church members promised they were praying. But those words only made him angrier. He didn't want explanations. He wanted his daughter back. Night after night, he sat alone in her empty bedroom. The silence felt louder than any sound. Eventually, he stopped praying altogether. He stopped believing, and he stopped hoping. Years passed. David went through life like a shadow. He worked, he paid bills, he smiled when necessary. But inside, he felt empty. One rainy evening, after a particularly difficult day, he stopped at a small diner. He sat alone in a corner booth. As he waited for his coffee, he noticed an elderly woman sitting nearby. She looked at him for a moment and smiled. David looked away. A few minutes later, the waitress walked over and handed him a folded piece of paper. "That lady asked me to give this to you," she said. Confused, David opened it. The note contained only one sentence. "Your daughter would be proud of the man you're still becoming." David froze. His heart started racing. How could a stranger know anything about his daughter? He quickly stood up and looked around. But the woman was gone. No one knew where she had gone. No one even remembered seeing her leave. David kept staring at the note. For the first time in years, tears filled his eyes. Not angry tears, not bitter tears, just tears. That night, he couldn't sleep. The words stayed in his mind. Your daughter would be proud of the man you're still becoming. The next morning, he opened a closet he hadn't touched in years. Inside was Lily's old artwork. He carefully looked through dozens of drawings. Then he found something that made him stop breathing. A letter Lily had written shortly before her death. The paper was old and folded. With shaking hands, David opened it. "Daddy, if you're ever sad, remember that God isn't finished with your story." David broke down crying. He hadn't seen the letter in years. He couldn't explain why he found it the day after receiving the mysterious note. Maybe it was coincidence. Maybe it wasn't. But for the first time since Lily died, he felt something he hadn't felt in years. Peace. Not because his pain disappeared, not because all his questions were answered, but because he realized something important. Faith wasn't the absence of tragedy. Faith was choosing to trust, even when life made no sense. Over the next few months, David slowly began rebuilding his relationship with God, one small step at a time, one prayer at a time, one day at a time. He started volunteering at a local children's center. He shared kindness with people who were hurting. And every time he helped someone, he felt closer to Lily's memory. Years later, David often told others, "I lost my faith because I thought God had abandoned me. But looking back, I realize he stayed beside me the entire time, even when I couldn't see him. The tragedy never left his heart, but neither did hope. And hope changed everything. If this story touched your heart, remember, sometimes God is working even when we cannot see it. If you believe hope can return after heartbreak, type Amen in the comments and subscribe for more inspiring faith stories.